Have you ever stopped to think about how a political fight halfway around the globe could actually affect your world? You know, the tech in your pocket, maybe even your own investments? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to trace the shockwaves from these huge global tensions and see how they're completely redrawing the map for technology, for finance, and for some of the biggest companies on the planet. And really, it all comes down to this one huge question. Is globalization, the way we've known it for decades, actually over? That whole idea of a totally interconnected world where goods and money and ideas just flow freely, well, it seems to be hitting some pretty serious turbulence. We're going to find out why. So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at where the world is fracturing. Then, we'll see how those cracks are spreading right through the tech and finance industries. After that, we'll zoom in on how major companies are getting caught in the crossfire. And to wrap it all up, we'll ask what all this means for the future. To really get what's happening in the markets, you have to start at the source, at the epicenters of all this tension. The wild swings we're seeing, the headaches for corporations, none of this is random. It all starts with a few key geopolitical hotspots that are shaking the very foundations of the global system. And here they are, the two big ones. First, you've got this escalating rivalry between the US and China. It's a strategic competition that's being fought more and more with economics and technology. And second, of course, is the ongoing conflict between Russia and the West, which has turned things like finance and energy into weapons in a way we've never seen before. These two fault lines are what's sending out all the shockwaves we're about to explore. So let's trace that first shockwave, and it's a big one, what some are calling the new tech Cold War. Now, this isn't about communism versus capitalism like the old days. No, this is a straight-up, bare-knuckle fight for who will dominate the technology of the future. And it has become the central battleground for global power. This slide just sums up the whole thing perfectly. On one side, you have headlines about Arizona's chip awakening. That's the huge push by the US to bring semiconductor manufacturing back home. And on the other side, China's memory boost. It's their all-out drive to become self-sufficient in the very same technology. This isn't just healthy competition, folks. This is a strategic decoupling, a deliberate effort to untangle the world's most critical supply chain. And believe me, this fight goes way beyond just computer chips. It's spilling over onto actual battlefields, with reports of elite Russian units using electronic warfare to hunt Ukrainian drone operators. It's also happening in the apps on our phones. Think about India, for example, which is pushing hard for a homegrown alternative to WhatsApp. This is what you'd call digital nationalism, countries deciding they want their own digital turf, which fractures the global internet even more. So from tech, that shockwave slams right into the world of finance. We're in a new reality now, where financial markets, banks, even currencies, they aren't neutral ground anymore. They are actively being used as tools, as weapons of foreign policy. Now, just take a look at this number. 140 billion euros. I mean, it's a staggering amount of money, right? But what does it represent? It's not a company's valuation or some big merger. It's something way more significant. And here's the story behind it. That 140 billion euros, it's a potential loan from the European Union to Ukraine. This is a crystal clear example of finance being put on the front line. We're talking about massive financial aid packages being used to directly prop up a nation at war. This ties the fate of banks and government budgets directly to the outcome of a military conflict. So we've seen the high-level politics and the weaponization of money. But how does this all feel on the ground for actual businesses? Well, huge corporations that used to operate across the globe without a second thought are now finding themselves trying to navigate a geopolitical minefield. And the results for these companies are pretty severe. Just look at this. You've got European car makers facing what they call a devastating crisis because of a chip shortage from a single company caught between Dutch and Chinese politics. Or think about UniCredit, a huge European bank that's worried the Kremlin could just seize its Russian business, wiping out almost 4 billion euros of its value. Even Toyota's massive $10 billion investment in the US is a direct response to navigating tariff talks. These aren't just business risks anymore. They are the direct fallout of geopolitics. So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. The line between the boardroom and the war room has basically vanished. If you're a global company today, your decisions about supply chains, where to invest, and which markets to enter, they all depend on having a deep, deep understanding of foreign policy. Political strategy is business strategy now. period. Okay, so we've traced these shockwaves from the political epicenters, right through tech, through finance, and down to the companies on the ground. So where does this all leave us? What does the future of our connected world even look like after all this? Let's just quickly recap the domino effect we've laid out. It all starts when geopolitical tensions rise. Then, those tensions turn crucial sectors like tech and finance into strategic battlegrounds. And finally, global companies get caught right in the middle and they're forced to completely change their playbook just to stay in the game. It's a powerful, disruptive chain reaction. And that leaves us with this final, massive question. For decades, the simple advice for any investor or business was go global. But in this new, fractured world, that answer just isn't so simple anymore. Where will capital, talent, and innovation actually flow now? Will we see money moving into politically aligned blocks of countries? Or will we see new, unexpected safe havens pop up? That right there is the defining question for the next chapter of the global economy.